This book wasn't around in 2008 when I first started my journey as a traveling musician, and I wish that it was. My mentor here signing my very own copy of the book. Amazing. We're on a one-night only gig here in Hyatt Regency doing our thing.
Yes.
And very excited.
And she has Gig for Life already, and I am honored to know Phoenix because she's helping young musicians also Gig for Life. And she's a professional's professional. It's my pleasure.
What I think I really enjoy the most about Gig for Life, written by Georges Elchakieh, is how he fits so much about the traveling musician lifestyle or the gigging musician lifestyle in this book. He doesn't spend long, drawn out chapters on one thing. He breaks things down really concisely so that artists can take away a lot of information from this book and don't get overwhelmed by it. He talks about things that everybody on this journey can relate to. And if this book was around when I first started out in 2008, I definitely would not have made many mistakes that I've made along the way when it comes to just professionalism, when it comes to preparing myself properly for auditions or working with musicians, understanding how to show up correctly, understanding how to negotiate. This is another thing that he talks about in the book. Understanding how to sell yourself, because not everybody who performs has a big ego and believes that they are the best, but a lot of us do. A lot of us are very, we're up there on stage and we know that we're being looked at and we know that we're the spotlight and the attention is on us. So it's easy for us to get that complex. It's easy for us to get it in our head that, I'm amazing and they came to see me and I'm great just as I am. And sometimes with that mentality, you're not pushed to be better. It's only when somebody confronts you or, tells you about yourself or you can't get the jobs that you want that that you start looking in the mirror and say, how can I be better? Georges mentions how he would seek out opportunities and he would look at what he could bring to the table. He didn't just say, well, I had a band. He said, how can I maximize the potential of my band being booked? Not once, but continuously. And this is another thing. It's like, this is something that I think I was guilty of because I liked so much new experiences and moving around. I appreciate now more consistency and stability more than I did when I was younger. In the past, the moment that it got uncomfortable or boring, I didn't think of ways to better myself. I thought of a new opportunity that was fresh. And it gives you, looking at it now, I could have grown a lot sooner had I figured out ways to expand my appeal. All right, well, if you're getting tired of the gig, maybe the gig's getting tired of you. How can you be better? What can you do differently? And now that I'm somebody who actually is staying put on a gig longer than I ever had in the past, I would do 3 months here or 6 months there, and then I'm ready for the new thing. But the more you bounce around, the less chance for you to actually really build a great fan base, build a repertoire, and build a connection where people look for you and search for you and get used to you. If you're constantly bouncing around, again, this was not something that I thought of when I was younger. It just wasn't something I was interested in because, one, I did not see myself being long-term as a cover band artist. I thought this was going to be something, oh, this seems fun, but I knew I was going to be a superstar, by the time I was 30. That has come and gone. And, this lifestyle, it's really possible to gig for life. It's really possible if this is something that you enjoy, if it's something that you understand, and if you build the relationships with people who can keep you gigging, where they trust you, where they trust your judgment. Because if they see that they don't have to if they see that they don't have to micromanage you, if they see that they don't have to have somebody else watching your every move to make sure that you're adding new material to your repertoire, that you're socializing with customers, that you look presentable on stage, and taking care of your parents, that you are responsible, and that you're not like bringing down their business, they're not going to be bothering you. They are going to know that they can trust you, and they are going to not have a problem with giving you raises and putting their faith in you, because they see that you are good for business. And again, this book wasn't around in 2008 when I first started my journey as a traveling musician. And I wish that it was, because again, I had to learn the hard way. Wrote a couple books myself about things that I had to learn the hard way when it comes to being an artist on the world stage, when it comes to being a cover band musician, when it comes to working with many types of personalities, when it comes to living with different type of personalities. George is really, he keeps it simple, stupid, like it's not too hard to understand. Even if you haven't entered this life yet and it looks appealing, or you see videos of other artists doing this is a book that you want to get. Because like I said, it's not a book that is a long read where you have to be like in a mood to read it. It's a book where he breaks it down in little chunks. In the beginning, he talks to you about who he is. He runs you through his early beginnings, his humble beginnings, when he was first trying to identify what the kind of music was that he was into. When he was auditioning for going to school, when he was starting to work with different musicians, when he was building his own band and crafting his own sound and style, when he was on stage himself, and I didn't meet George when he was on stage. I met him when he was the CEO of one of the biggest booking agencies for artists internationally. And when I learned so much about him reading this book that I had no idea. I had no idea that he was trying to start a music school. I had no idea that I knew he was on stage at one point and drumming. I didn't know he was singing. So there's so much that you can learn about it. And I think what I really, really, really do enjoy about LI Productions is that LI Productions is run by musicians, artists themselves. They know. And sometimes it's really hard when you're dealing with corporate people, business people who are not musicians, who are not artists, because you can't work musicians the way you think you can work people at a 9-to-5. And it's kind of hard when I try to have conversations, because I have tried to help businesses and come with my creative ideas, and they would try to maximize our performance. And I said, well, listen, it's quality over quantity when it comes to artists, because we're using our voice to sing as well as socialize, as well as hype up the audience and MC. That's a lot of communication. And when you're working 6 nights a week, because a lot of artists on this cover band circuit work 6 nights a week, 4 45-minute sets, a lot of them. Now, when you get into the arena of doing duos or more jazz styles, you can't really push that for 4 45-minute sets. And I try to explain to some people, because again, it's different, especially if it's a duo or something like that. You are not going to get the best quality, because they'll be so focused on not losing their voice by day 6 that they'll stop socializing with customers, that they won't sing their best songs because their voice is gone. They won't be able to speak. It's just, it's a muscle. And if you overuse it, it's different. Like it's different from somebody. I mean, come on. Every job, you can get carpal tunnel. Even people on instruments can get, cramped hands and stuff. So I'm not making it seem like they can't be affected, but you have a lot of people who work in the hospitality industry where they're on their feet ripping and running and pouring drinks and doing this and socializing with customers and ringing up orders and making food. They're usually doing 8 to 12-hour shifts sometimes. And because they're doing multiple things where they're making drinks some of the time and they're ringing up stuff some of the time and they're socializing with customers some of the, or they're cleaning, they're not doing one thing independently. If you're in the gym working out your arms nonstop, you need some recovery time, right? It's just different. And that's what the voice is. The voice is a muscle. So you have to understand. And so not to get all long-winded about that, but the point I'm trying to make is that when you try to come to some people and give them your creative ideas about it, and they're not musicians, they just think, oh, this bitch is being lazy. Oh, she doesn't understand, or she's not making it make sense to me, because I'm trying to maximize the quality of the performance. And again, my point with LI Productions, it's run by musicians who understand the limits of artists. They understand. So they're aware, okay, all right, 2 songs, maybe we'll do 1 song you, 1 song you, 1 song you, 1 song you, instead of you doing 3-4 songs back to back. And then the other singer doesn't have to do, like, they spread it out. They understand because they are artists. They know what it's like being on the stage. The book breaks down how to take your breaks. The book breaks down one of the biggest things that a lot of musicians worry about, especially artists who do dance music and dance sets, is losing the crowd. And me becoming a DJ now, one of the worst things to see is the crowd not being interested. They go and sit down when you're playing, when they were up and dancing, you play the wrong song. And even with me, I realized, okay, yeah, there's ways that you can do that. You don't play this song after this song. If you see them up and they had the momentum, do this. Or, you have to be really careful at calculating, and you got to read the room. There's so much that goes on in the musician's head. And when you have bosses over top of you who are not musically inclined, but they want to tell you how to do your job, it can be really exhausting. So working with L Live was really cool because it was a very in-house production where every time a new band was set up, they would come through, especially George. George was very involved. And I'm no longer with L Live right now, but to this day, I'm sure he still is. The last time I did a gig with them, he was there. He was very involved. But when he's with musicians who he trusts, he knows he doesn't have to be micromanaging them. But being a musician himself, he knows what the sound is that he wants. He can articulate that. And so it's really cool to have that, because he had, not only were the musicians who run L Live musicians who could give us feedback on how to how to put the best show together, they were also equipped to know how to run the sound, to set up the sound systems. We didn't have to rely on the whoever was at the venue that we were performing at, hoping that they had sound guys who actually knew what the hell they were doing, or sound women. It was just, they always were prepared, from my experience, to take care of everything full circle. And then when I joined L Live as a DJ singer, they were like ready to take over the whole entertainment experience. So I enjoyed that, because there was no question, and there was nobody hounding you trying to tell you how to do your job and not knowing how to put the production together. It's frustrating, because they're looking at numbers. Corporate people are looking at numbers. Are you putting asses in the seats? Do people want to come and see you? And if it's not working, sometimes they'll refer to what a band did previous to you coming, but maybe that's not what's best for your band. And so when you deal with people who don't understand the way music works, and understand that there's rules to this. Like, it's not just we just on the fly trying shit out. No, we've done this long enough to know what works. Trust us enough, and if we've tried and we've showed you that what we believe is right isn't working, then okay, I get that. But it's really important for artists to be free, in a sense where we can be creatively free, because if we feel suppressed, that will affect the performance. It will definitely affect the show. And I've learned that the hard way too. So in summation, Gig for Life The ultimate no bullshit guide for musicians. It's no lie. It's the absolute truth. I have earmarked this book and I've put all kinds of notes and sticky notes and written, because even me, being almost 20 years in the gig in the globe industry as a cover band musician, DJ, singer, rapper, all that shit, I still need to remind myself of ways to stay on my A game. You can get really comfortable, especially when you know that you're killing it and people like you, and not push yourself to grow. So with a book like this, from somebody who has been in the game on stage and off stage and making jobs available and possible for other artists who want to gig for life and to gig the globe and live this lifestyle, I am in awe. I'm constantly referring back to it because I know this man. I know that he stands by what he wrote, and I know that it's real because I know him personally. You can't say that about a lot of people. You can't say that about a lot of authors and books that you read. And so I'm excited to review this book because I know it's the truth, and I've learned so much about myself. I learned so much about him in this book, and realizing that when he's given me feedback in the past that I didn't always want to listen to, reading his story and realizing that he gave me that feedback because it was something he himself experienced, working with bands, how to deal with bands, how to be the boss in a band of peers. That's not easy. It's not easy for you to wear many hats. It's not easy for you to be an artist with a creative brain who just wants to enjoy the show and put on a great show and do music and focus on music, but also have to manage other artists, also have to share the stage with them, also have to manage personalities. It's a lot. It's a lot. This book is not just for musicians and artists. It's also for people who are leading bands, because they also sometimes need advice. Like, you sometimes need to know where to go. And a lot of corporate books about management can definitely help. But when you're a musician, you want books that are more relatable to your field, because you are emotionally invested, because your job is an emotional job. I don't care what anybody says. I'm connecting with you through my heart, through my body. So as much as the corporate world, it's not personal. All right, don't worry, you ain't gotta like me to work with me. It is not like that for artists who use their body to express themselves to get you to feel something. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I want to like the person I'm standing on stage next to. I want to enjoy what I do. Now, the audience, you ain't gotta like me, because I don't know you personally. You don't know me personally. Maybe you came in and having a bad fucking day and you want to take it out on me. That I can't control. So I try my best to be as far removed as I can, to not take your reactions or your nastiness or the way you act when you get drunk personally. But my band, people who I'm on stage with, people who I have to live with off stage, right? People who I see on a regular basis, people whose energy I exchange, my boss who's in my ear, who hired me, these people who saw something in me, I do care about that relationship. And so having a book like this reminds you how to manage that, how to back away when you need to create space, how to conduct yourself professionally, how to make sure you stay on your A game, but also how to be somebody who people want to work with. Because if you're the problem, then you can't be looking around outside of you when people don't want to work with you. And this book kind of teaches you to look at yourself, not just at the people around you or the situation you're in. So I recommend it. I recommend it for everybody who is on this path or journey or curious about the lifestyle of cover band musicians traveling the world. There's a few good agencies out there, but I have worked with, I've managed myself a lot. I have worked with a few agencies, and by far 100% LI Productions is near and dear to my heart because of how professional they were when I was with them, how family oriented they are, how I always got paid when I was supposed to get paid, how consistent that was, how much George himself, the owner of L Live, cares about the performance, you know, and when the owner of a company, you know, who's fighting for you, who's managing you, who's making sure that you got a job, but who's championing you, when he's involved, because sometimes places get so many, you know, these companies get so big that you hardly ever see or talk to the people who started it. So to be around the people who started it, for them to still be a part of the company so heavily, it was an honor, definitely an honor. So a lot of artists hit me up asking me, what's it like? What's my experience? So I had to make a separate video about L Live. So go check that out, because I break down what my experience was. Living conditions, gigging conditions, how they run things and how the structure is that a lot of other agencies just don't have. A lot of other agencies are not run by musicians themselves. So they don't really put that time in and investment necessary to a musician's overall growth. And you can tell, especially when you come from a place like L Live, who has their own boot camp for artists to rehearse and grow and become their best self before showtime. Some places, they just don't give a shit. They see a video of you, they think you sound great, and they want to offer you a gig. And then they're surprised when you're like just mediocre when you get there. Not all artists, but you know, some artists, okay, well, they didn't tell me anything other than to come here and sing, so here I am. Or they don't take the time to make sure you look good on stage. They don't take the time to make sure that you have a great stage performance and stage appeal. And these things undoubtedly make a difference. They do. Knowing how to talk to the audience, knowing when to talk to the audience, knowing when to shut the hell up and just perform and sing, knowing how to socialize, knowing how to keep it professional, you know, and not get too close and too personal with the customers as well as your bandmates, right? So Gig for Life is definitely a book that you want to have, even if you're not an artist. It's a great book to learn about this lifestyle. It's a great book to read. It's a great read to learn about an interesting individual who built his own company from the ground up with an idea in his mind, because he loved music so much and has helped tons of musicians like me stay employed, doing what we love to do and being safe as we travel and gig the globe. All right, so make sure you guys check this out. I bought my own copy. Yes, I did. And he signed it for me. Yes, he did. On Amazon. So you can get this available on Amazon right now. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of The Right Hustle. And my very first book review from an author who is not myself. Until next time, guys. Once again, Georges Elchakieh is his name. And you can buy the book on Amazon. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye.
Right away, you say, okay, everybody, put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands together. And you guys start clapping, right? And then if you want to call back, you say, everybody say, yeah. You make sure they got an answer, right? And then on cue, 1, 2, 3, 4, horns, but no bass, no guitar, no keys. I want the horns to cut through. Okay? And then on cue, we'll bring the band in. Because if the gentleman here plays so loud, we don't have the effect we want.